Happy Friday. Woo! Oh, some water went up my nose. Oh. Feels great though. Oh boy. This is great. All right. I think I'll get back up out of the water now. Give me a minute. Okay. As the rather unambiguous beginning of this video states, happy Friday, everyone. Okay, so I need to get to my low, my high, my act of kindness because it's a bit all over the place. So, I'll be honest, all week there were things I kind of wanted to do in terms of what the evening plans were. And with the exception of Monday, none of them really came true. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, I'm not entirely that upset by it because no matter what, I was with family, and that is what's most important. The problem is, though, being up here for the week would be like the one time I'd be able to do all those things, and I couldn't. But that's okay. In fact, last night was pretty flippin' awesome. In fact, that was my high. It was last night. Oh, and yesterday's episode of Hot Ones, which I will be getting into momentarily. As for my act of kindness, okay, so this is a really crazy story. So, on Tuesday and Thursday night, my nephew spent the night up here. Which, honestly, I mean, it's fine in the grand scheme of things. I love the fact that my nephews are up here. But they have school today. And me, being the kind of person that really prioritizes business before pleasure, I'm not going to lie, I would hate being up here the night before I would have to go back to school. Because you'd have to get up so much earlier and not really be able to enjoy your time up here. But that's just me. In the end, I'm okay, and I got my Hot Ones notes. Yeah, I can't bring my computer out here, so I had to do the next best thing, get my Hot Ones notes out here. There we go. That's the problem with using your flip-flops to set everything up. So, and man, they were loud this morning. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, I'm glad that they woke me up so I could get this video started and done. Therefore, I didn't sleep in. But I know for a fact I'm going to have to get up really early tomorrow. Not entirely sure if I'm looking forward to that, but I suppose it is what it is. Oh, my act of kindness, well, obviously, the act of kindness was helping my parents watch my nephews. But also, before this video started, right, as my nephews left for school and my dad had to leave, I had to clean up everything. I had to clean up the kitchen, I had to blow off the deck, the front and back patios, I had to pick up some of their toys. So, I've actually been rather busy for the last just over 40, I would say probably for the last almost 40 minutes I've been busy. And obviously getting ready to do this video, of course. That also was also very important. So, with that said, what I think of Vince Vaughn being on Hot Ones. Because he was promoting his new series, I think on either Peacock or something like that, called Bad Monkey. Or maybe it's a movie or something. I don't know. Point is, he was promoting Bad Monkey. And the first question that Sean asked was about Bad Monkey. I'm talking about Hot Ones right now, if you couldn't already tell. So, the first question Sean asked was about how, because Bad Monkey takes place in South Florida, which, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of movies that take place there where there's a lot of like shady deals and crime and gangsters and stuff. And that's why Vince Vaughn wanted set in wanted Bad Monkey to be set in South Florida, because it's like Grand Theft Auto. It totally lends itself to the stakes being real, which I thought was like really cool. The second one they just talked about, because both Sean Evans and Vince Vaughn are from Chicago. Well, they talked about how they're Midwestern boys, so Vince Vaughn talked about Chicago. And they talked about the Breakup, which is a movie that Vince Vaughn was in, and how he was in that movie he played a tour guide, and Sean Evans also was a tour guide for a while in Chicago. Which, I really do need to get back to Chicago. One of my best friends from Trinity Pong is actually from Chicago. Seriously, he loved it so much, he could have, his stories about how great Chicago is, and I want to go. I actually want to go. Someday I will. My mom will actually be going to Chicago at the end of this month to visit her best friend who's also up there. So, although, actually, I'll be here preparing for a party that I was invited to. That I'm actually really excited. That's actually one thing I didn't mention. In yesterday's video, the month of August, nothing would really happen until the end of the month when my grandmother's birthday would be on the 31st. But there's actually several things I'm looking forward to this month that are happening week after week. I know there's a golf tournament going on I'm going to try and volunteer at. And there's a party the week after I'm definitely going to go to. So I'll definitely, I'll be doing a lot. I'll absolutely be doing a lot. They talked about how when making a comedy or really any movie, deciding if one more take is worth it. Basically, if you don't know how a movie works, the whole clear, that's a take. And it can be. And Vince Vaughn was talking about how when it comes to comedy, there really needs to be an overcommitment to the absurd. Absurdism is actually a type of comedy. In fact, there's a lot of instances I can think of. You know what? The show Exploding Kittens. I mean, the fact that God and the devil are cats and they're on planet Earth, that's absurd. That's funny. That works. That's a great example of absurdist comedy. They talked about the Harris situation when shooting the movie Swingers, which is the police pulled over and the camera was rolling. And in the actual theatrical release of the film Swingers, that particular scene that Vince Vaughn was talking about, you can actually hear the sirens in the background. Which, that's really cool. Okay. Then for the fifth wing, they talked about Vince Vaughn being class president at Lake Forest High School, which he said that if he was class president, he has to give the speech at graduation, therefore they have to let him graduate. Because he was talking about how there's a bunch of people that were also running, this is going to look good for, going to an Ivy League school or a top tier school in the country. Vince Vaughn was just doing it because he just wanted to do the speech at graduation and therefore be able to automatically graduate. And he talked about how the teachers were a little nicer to him and stuff. I'm like, man, had I known that, I would have totally given a speech. Well, who am I kidding? Nobody was ever going to vote for my ass. But it would have been funny to see. Although that does remind me, I'm not going to say his name out loud, but my class president's speech, I mean, to this day, my father will mention how he was pretty much idolizing Hitler and Stalin when he was being class president. Oops. Of course, I don't hold that against him. I mean, you gotta do what you can to win, right? Okay. Now, the sixth wing. How making an R-rated comedy has changed from, because in, the early 2000s, the R-rated comedy really was king. I mean, I've said this before many times. I'll say it again right now. Wedding Crashers, which is a movie that Vince Vaughn was in, was the first R-rated movie I saw. Not just R-rated, R-rated movie I saw. Not just R-rated comedy, R-rated movie. So Wedding Crashers is a very special place in my heart. Now, it's not that, everything's changed. Like, the ideas of the concept. See, nowadays, like, everyone has to follow set rules that, unfortunately, in a lot of cases, don't translate well to film. You either do that or you actually risk getting fired. So what do? Although Vince Vaughn himself said he's confident that that kind of comedy is going to make a comeback much sooner rather than later. And I hope so. I mean, I just talked about, seeing the movie Bottoms, which is a movie I wanted to see last year, but I saw that on the plane coming back to New York, specifically from Denver to Detroit. And, I mean, they're still there. Those types of comedies are there. They're just returning a little slower than normal. But I think, like, right now it's a trickle. Give it maybe about a year and a half more. It'll be like a roar. You know what I mean? They talked about how Vince Vaughn is a regular in Las Vegas. And Sean asked, what's a casino trap for rookies to be aware of? And basically, don't go gamble at any tables without a plan for afterwards. Like, yes, I know, Las Vegas is gambling. It's Sin City, it's like 20, blackjack and, poker and all that stuff. Like, yeah, that's all there. But listen, I mean, the times I've been in Vegas, I've gambled maybe once, and it was like on a slot machine. I actually doubled my money. I went from $1 to $2. Point is, there's a lot you can do in Vegas that doesn't involve gambling at all. I mean, there's a lot of, you can go to buffets if you want. There's a lot of doing that. There's attractions, shows, like roller coasters and stuff like that. There's a lot to do in Las Vegas that doesn't require any gambling to have any fun. Honestly, if I ever went to Vegas for like a bachelor party, I actually wouldn't plan on having any doing any things that guys do for bachelor parties in Vegas. I'm being serious. That's exactly, I really wouldn't have that. Okay, so yes, the name that tagline segment. Okay, so here's the thing. I actually tried, writing a couple of these down, but I wanted to fit everything on this one sheet of paper. So, I'll just say he got the cell wrong, and, he got Rudy wrong, but every other one he got right. Welcome to Disorganized Crime. That's the movie Made. His mind is her prison. That's The Cell. When people say dreams don't come true, tell them about Rudy. They did the one for Clay Pigeons. They did the one for Wedding Crashers. Life's a Party, Crash It. I know that one by heart. The Greatest Hero never fired a gun. That's Hacksaw Ridge. They did the one for Couples Retreat, which, of course, Vince Vaughn would get Couples Retreat right. I think he was definitely a producer of that movie. Did he also write it too? I forget. And then they get to the Ninth Wing. They were just shooting skeet. There was no question that Sean asked them. They were just, they spent a good 4 or 5 minutes in the video just talking about, what they do, being from the Midwest. Just two guys being two guys, having fun. And, I mean, listen, I'm a firm believer in if you're not having fun, you're not doing it right. And speaking of which, I mean, listen, we're at the last wing. I think they didn't drink any water or milk at all throughout this. So, Vince Vaughn, in his own way, figured out that as long as you keep on talking and just having fun, I mean, don't get me wrong, the heat's there. But it wasn't, overpowering. Vince Vaughn was actually of the power through this whole set of wings with barely any trouble at all. I mean, if this is the season 25 finale, I can say that, I mean, after what Conan O'Brien did, I don't think anyone's ever going to top that. But I don't think Vince Vaughn would ever try and be the next Conan O'Brien. He would be the first Vince Vaughn. I love Vince Vaughn. Vince Vaughn's awesome. I mean, this episode was great. But it was funny. The last question is, because obviously, 80 plus titles, some of the greatest R-rated comedies of my lifetime. What's the number one quote that fans say whenever he's walking down the street? And what's like a deep cut that goes under the radar that a lot of people find to be underrated? Sorry, I had a... Earmuffs is fun. So money you don't even know it. Bring it in for the real thing. Like that, those are like the main lines, but Vince Vaughn actually had trouble thinking of like, what's a quote that goes under the radar. So, there you go. I mean, this episode is great. Honestly, I mean, again, I've been a fan of Vince Vaughn Owen Wilson since Wedding Crashers. I mean, have I done a movies on Wedding Crashers before? I should do one at some point. Maybe perhaps at one point I will. But yeah, this was a phenomenal episode of Hot Ones. I mean, season 25 really should be wrapping up soon. If this was the season finale of season 25, I would say this is about as high of a note to go out on as anyone could have asked for. I mean, after what Conan O'Brien did, I don't think anyone's ever going to top that. Although Vince Vaughn, I forgot to say this, for the last dab, he dabbed the wing with the last dab, but also DeBob. I mean, technically Paul Rudd did like every single sauce dabbed on the wing. But Vince Vaughn kept it simple and did like the two hottest, most powerful sauces on the table, the bomb and the last dab. I mean, every once in a while you'll get like a Hot Ones guest who, like, you're just excited to see just because you're a fan, but you're even more excited when they do really well taking on the Wings of Death. Vince Vaughn is definitely one of those episodes. I think a lot of people are going to remember this episode. I certainly had a lot of fun watching it. And I doubt Vince Vaughn's ever going to see this. But if he ever does, Vince Vaughn, you are the man. I wish you much success for whatever you do going forward. And if my stupid ass ever got famous, and if I ever got a chance to meet you, I would definitely give you your flowers because you most definitely deserve them. And I think I'm going to enjoy my time up here today. I hope y'all liked this video. If you did, like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Find me on social media. As always, I'm very humble in this video. For all of you guys watching, Joe for name. Hope you have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Friday. And remember, if any of you guys want to talk, I'm always over here to lend, always your back. Take care and make good choices. 607 all day, baby.